And we're live. Hello, this is Christian Idealism. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to be discussing epistemology and idealism and how we've noticed some people that don't like idealists try to run two different epistemologies to say, well, you can be a coherentist and not believe in idealism, or you can be a pragmatist where you don't believe in metaphysics at all, or something, some crazy epistemology that they have. So yeah, that's what we're going to be discussing today. So to start off the conversation, I guess, I've noticed people are starting. I mean, this doesn't happen all the time, but people are starting to deny metaphysics in general. Like you have positivism, and then you have pragmatism, and they say, oh, well, you can't know things unless it's pragmatically useful, or if it's a useful tool or something. Like, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that's? I mean, I don't think it's reasonable, but what do you guys think?
Science is just a pragmatic tool.
No. That just knowledge in general is just a pragmatic tool. That it's not really. There's no truth. There's no ontological truth about reality. It's just whatever's true is pragmatic.
How's it going, Johannes?
Hi, how's it going, Jasper? Yeah, that's just
pretty good.
And it's.
So can I maybe try to bridge like a compromise on this idea? So like maybe
Sure.
it's
Go
metaphysically
ahead.
Maybe it's metaphysically stupid, but it might be useful in some context. Like for example, I don't know if you remember the version of emergence that I pitched to you the other day, Johannes, was based on utility and how the format of information affects how it's able to be inferenced in the context of a proof. The difference between 0.5 and a half is whether you can perform certain postulates on that information. And that's how symbolic logic is. They actually will negate something in order to prove something. So in terms of looking at something in terms of like with how we're going to view the information is based on the problems we're trying to solve. And so that to that degree, I think pragmatism is a useful way of looking at things. I would split the dilemma and say that it's not exclusive to actual metaphysics. Like, for example, if you look at the truth table of like a conditional statement, the whole concept of truth and falsehood there is completely pragmatic. It is based only on utility and has nothing to do with metaphysics. That's not to say that it's exclusive to the actual concept of some kind of ontological truth. You see what I'm saying?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, you can treat it as a methodology.
That's right.
In its own right, even if it doesn't give you real. Yeah, I can see that. It's just when you'll then use it as an excuse to go and like diss on knowledge,
That's right. See where you and I will agree is that I won't take this information and turn around and try to debunk all of metaphysics with it. I will only claim that that the ideas are meant for utility, not to actually talk about reality. They're meant to predict.
And that's all. It reminds me when they do that, they're not even thinking like scientists; they're thinking like engineers.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Well, and like with a lot of statistical concepts, like there are these associations that are made with inferences, and oftentimes it's not the causes that matter. If two phenomenon are associated strongly enough, that's kind of all you need to go on, and that's the utility of it. And so to that extent, the metaphysics isn't relevant, but in other spheres, in other contexts, it might be. So, my point is, I think this pragmatic view of epistemology is not exclusive to metaphysics. Because first of all, I'll be the first to admit the limitations of logic. It all rests on a mountain of arguably arbitrarily selected premises and axioms that can just be changed out.
Okay.
So Sorry, Kyle.
No, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, I agree. I'm trying to find what articles we can. I'm on the Encyclopedia of Philosophy right now, so I'm trying to scroll through what you guys want to go over.
Yeah. And so for that reason, I would say that I felt like there's an unnecessary bias towards trying to formalize knowledge, and that induction has almost been completely neglected. And so most of these dilemmas, like the Salesian dilemma, often assumes that our standard of knowledge is actually drawing deductive inferences, and if that's all we're ever pursuing, then we're going to run into a lot of problems.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go over that right now. Here, let me share my screen real quick. I can show you guys. You guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So so this dilemma is mainly, we can go over some of the other objections, but this objection in particular has been I can see it as a potential objection to the foundationalist argument, and the reason why is because the dilemma tries to say that our experience of something could be, it could be like a illusion, so to speak, right? And so then what he says is that the experience of the experience of having this hangout right now is the result not because I exist, but rather because it's just the concept of that in a way. I guess that's the best way to present the dilemma. Is what do you think, Johannes?
Say that again.
What do you think about the Salesian dilemma? Like, what's
basically is it arguing that we don't know we don't apprehend things immediately because we have to refer back to some other concept to, like the apprehension is basic,
the concept,
some concept to, in order to apprehend it with.
Yeah, the concept of, like, let's say the outside world. So then here, let me try to read.
Well, like a thing in the outside. So like, say I see like blue on my RuneScape computer screen right now, right?
Yeah.
My guy is fishing small urchins on the elf district, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I see the blue there, right? And so foundationalism would have it that the experience of blue is just fundamental, right?
Yeah.
But the point is we have to actually identify it as blue, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore, whatever we use to identify it with is actually more basic than the blue itself, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of the idea?
Well, here, let me read it real quick. Johanna, the idea that I got is that it's yet another manifestation of people getting, scratching their heads over the fact that they can't deductively prove everything all the way back to the beginning of time.
So
and that they have to fall back on concepts that are assumed at some point.
Yeah. So let me. Exactly. I think
people really get dazzled by that in so many different forms.
They really get what?
They really get dazzled by that problem, and and this goes back to, in my opinion, the bias slant towards trying to formalize everything and pretending like induction doesn't exist. Like, you can't get around using a certain amount of lateral thinking and probabilistic leaps.
Well, practically speaking, yes, but this is kind of like an in-principle thing, right?
Yeah. All right, so let me just...
Even in the case of my foundationalist argument, I don't say that you actually have to do this, right, to actually get there logically.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that there's a series of steps that you take, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are, whether or not you take those steps, there has to be some logical train connecting everything, whether or not we know what it is. And that would include from our senses to the outside world. And so simply because that exists there, whether or not we can know it, even if we just have to make a kind of a Bayesian probabilistic, guess that the outside world is there, the very fact that we're able to do that is a logical possibility means that the outside world has to be logically connected via some chain of reasoning to our senses, even if we don't know what it actually is, and we therefore have to resort to Bayesian probability.
Let me try to, I guess, say what the dilemma is. So, Classical foundationalists will often attempt to avoid the infinite regress problem raised in the previous section by appealing to the idea that things are simply given to us, or that we directly apprehend or are acquainted with these things. So often we're referred, and then of course philosophers like Stellers and Dora Born have presented what's called the Salertian dilemma. And so, does the awareness or acquaintance that it is alleged source of non-infernal justification involve an acceptance of a proposition or thought?
Probably says inferential.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, anyways, or at least the categorization of some sensory item or the application of some concept to experience. If on the one hand, the acquaintance or awareness is propositional or conceptual in this way, then while such acts, episodes of awareness seem compatible, not compatible, capable in principle of justifying other beliefs, they would surely need to be justified themselves. Okay, so that's one form of dilemma. Okay, anyways, continuing on, so the episode of awareness would involve something like the acceptance of a proposition or the categorization of experience, and such an attitude or act clearly needs justification if it is to justify anything else. But then, if the allegedly foundational belief is not foundational after all, well, yeah, exactly, then it wouldn't be foundational. Okay. And then, of course, if on the other hand, we can regard direct experience as non-propositional and non-conceptual, then while these acts or states of awareness do not require even admit of justification, they also don't seem capable on their own for providing a reason or justification for propositions take like belief, items like beliefs. And so therefore the classical foundationalist acquaintance or direct awareness cannot serve as a foundational source of knowledge or justify belief. So that is the dilemma. Sorry if I kind of...
Now, Johannan, you would I'm guessing, and we could possibly agree about this. You would probably say that it's a false division between direct experience and a priori concepts, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and so let me point out again that I agree with you that I think that these are actually artificial. And I would also try to save pragmatism here and say that sometimes it's useful to talk about pure mathematics, or pure deduction. So these distinctions between pure concepts and practical subjective experiences are useful in some contexts, but perhaps not with situations like this.
Yeah.
In fact, they're the problem in situations like this.
Yep.
Oh, so by the way, Kyle.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this?
I mean, it's interesting.
I'm just curious.
Well, I've seen this typically. This was an argument made by the Polymath, and he made I think this is like the core argument on his hour-long video about the myth of the given. And I guess I would admit, okay, I'll give him this. I admit that this is the strongest objection that I've seen against not just, well, it's not really an objection against idealism, but it is an objection somewhat against the foundationalist argument, the assertion that, that our experience is given in a sense. And so I would give him that it is the strongest objection that I've seen in terms of how, my whole metaphysical framework, or I should say, not metaphysical framework, my epistemological framework. Sorry.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I think, so it tries to say some concept, and so then this concept has to somewhat relate to the outside world. I guess it has to assume that the outside world is more fundamental than the inner world. Would you agree with that to some extent? I mean, that's kind of what it...
Yeah, it seems to be saying that we have to fall back on direct experience, and that does not count as propositional inferencing.
Yeah.
Now,
I think the propositional inferencing happens. I mean, you think about it, we don't have knowledge off the bat. We have sensory experience, but we don't identify it as not. It's like how you wouldn't call quality itself knowledge, right? It gives you knowledge, but it's just in itself, it's just an experience, right?
Yeah.
Like most of the time when you're seeing like a movie, you're not thinking about it as knowledge. You're seeing it as entertainment and images flickering in front of your face, right? So there's or when you're eating food, you're not thinking that as knowledge, right?
Yeah.
You're sensing it, but it's not, in a sense, not. I mean,
well, the
you can make it into knowledge. You can
yeah,
make it into knowledge. Be like someone's asking, "What are you eating?" And you think, or what does it taste like? Oh, it tastes like chicken, right? Then it becomes knowledge, right? But you're kind of eating it and tasting it. It's there, but it's not being processed as knowledge to you, right?
Yeah.
So the information comes in, and you have this impression of it, and even when you're kind of imagining it, right? That in itself isn't knowledge either, right? It's you have the thing you see and you kind of imagine it in your head. When you're daydreaming, you're not thinking about knowledge either. You're thinking about whatever fun fantasy you have in your head, right?
Yeah, I know.
Floating around, thinking up a story or something, plot for a new movie, etc., or a video, and then you just have this in your head, right?
Yeah.
You're not thinking that as knowledge, right? I think the knowledge happens when you're able to then take the image in your head, right, and then use it to identify the image in the outside world and say, this is that.
Okay.
This has this essence, or this exists as this.
Yeah.
And so
it
kind of ties into the whole Platonic correspondence thing. This is an instance of that.
Right.
Okay, but how? I'm trying to, because I've been thinking about this all day. How do you, I guess, solve? I mean, there has to be. I see the thing I see with this is that the whole framework by which this dilemma is presented has to assume that the outside world is more fundamental than the inside world, because it assumes that these concepts of experience come from an outside world, so to speak, right? Would you? I mean, that seems to be the whole, I guess, framework by which the problem is presented, right?
So yeah, perceptions are not, fundamental things. Yeah. They're not knowledge in itself. And yes, you do have to do that little bit of like introspection to kind of like, identify what you're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Like when I look at my waterfall normally on the RuneScape thing, I don't think blue off the bat. I just think, oh, I got this game here.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, when you think, when you stop to think about it for me, like, oh, I'm identifying blue.
You play RuneScape?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a couple of people that play it. It's an MMO, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've played one MMO in the past. I mean, I like Dark Souls. And,
gotcha.
Those games.
Cool.
Sorry, derailing.
Yeah. Well, I kind of derailed it a little bit there, but yeah. Not directly, but implicitly. But yes, you have, like, when you have knowledge, it's always based on identifying, something.
Well, the knowledge isn't the experience itself; it's more the experiencer is the one that is the foundation of knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For this, I mean, this dilemma tries. It says that things are simply given to us. So I guess it tries to say that perception somehow isn't foundational. It's not knowledge, so to speak. It's more like I mean, I think we would agree with that, I guess, for the most part. But I mean, it has to, again, it has to rely on this concept, right? So what would that concept? So either has to rely on the concept, or if it's not a concept, then it faces the non-propositional problem. So I mean, how would you get around that? How do you think you could?
Say that again.
How could you get around that dilemma?
Say the dilemma again. Sorry.
How do you get around the celestial dilemma? How do you?
Isn't the Solarian dilemma saying that you need to have something else to identify with? Like a short version, not the big, long, version on the philosophy page there, but I'm saying the short version is essentially you don't get knowledge from immediate perceptions, you get them from relating those immediate perceptions to other ideas, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, they're not fundamental. Those other ideas that you are relating them to are Platonic bits of knowledge.
Okay, so
or ideas in your head.
Okay. So, all right, no, that makes sense, I guess. So yeah, okay. Now with regards to that,
That's where the knowledge starts.
Yeah.
Even if the actual process of getting there, of how you get those ideas in your head in the first place is not started there. The activity of having knowledge starts there.
Yes. So you're more of like an externalist or an internalist with regards to
knowledge?
Yeah.
Probably internalist. Yeah, it starts inside.
Yeah. Okay. Now another thing that would really, I guess, not solve, well, kind of solve it, but like kind of solve it and turn people's intuitions on their heads is if we can figure out how to take the intuition that the outside world is more fundamental than the inside world and switch that intuition. And I have an idea, a prototype
based on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see how this works as this thing fits.
If we can figure if we can figure out how to do that, not only will we solve this dilemma, but we're also going to turn people's intuitions
upside down. Exactly. I mean, we already know that from the through a mirror darkly thing, from the physics, but that's kind of a long way. And we can do it in an indirect way, or actually a more direct way, but not like epistemically grounded way, with the philosophy of mind argument, with the Platonic forms of the divine concept. We just got to be with some way to translate all the philosophy of mind things into epistemic.
Well, think of dreams, for example. Dreams are, by definition, inside your head, right? But when you're in the dream,
right,
it seems like everything's outside of you, even though it's really all inside. So,
well, everything that you see in the outside world, if you're to be able to know it, right?
Yeah.
It has to be an instantiation of some Platonic form, then, if that's the case.
Right, and Platonic forms are inside minds. So, yeah.
And so, therefore, it's a projection from inside of a mind. But it's the what's doing the projecting, though, is the Platonic form, which is inside your mind.
Right.
So not that you're creating the world out there. It's that there's this. You have access to what's creating the world.
Space, yeah.
Exactly. Most of it's subconscious to you, of course. And then the parts that aren't subconscious are still absolute inside of there. Not that you can't change those ideas; they're just sitting there. Your mind is interacting with them in a sense.
Okay. So you think that would be the key to solving this dilemma, at least?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so
the dilemma is solved when you take I think the dilemma is solved when you go to Platonic epistemology and say it's all based those things it's referring back to are innate Platonic experiences in the first place. And so this whole Solarian dilemma, if you think about it, only really applies to external empirical world knowledge.
Yeah, well, I guess yeah.
I mean, there's lots of knowledge that's not like that. I mean, Platonic knowledge, a priori knowledge, and then also like the Cartesian statement about the I. That's also internal knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now we've kind of gone over pragmatism. That we might go over the slippery dilemma a little bit more later. So now we're going to discuss what's the counter coherentism, which coherentism claims that knowledge is not grounded on anything. It's like knowledge, you can't know things unless you have this coherent set of beliefs connected to each other like a spider's web or something. Now, of course, you can see the obvious problem with that is that it's circular reasoning. If you're going to say that you can justify your knowledge if something's coherent. Well, how do you justify that coherence in the first place? I mean, would you agree with that? I mean, it seems like coherentism is circular reasoning because it.
Oh, exactly. That's what it is. I mean, it's the circular dilemma of.
Right. And then how do you? I mean, there's been certain responses to that, but I mean, how do you? I don't see how a coherentist can justify knowledge without appealing to some or asserting something.
They can. And if you think about it, if it's coherent, what grounds it? Where's the knowledge? I mean, where's the knowledge content come from?
I mean, depend, yeah.
Equals A equals B, and then B equals C, and then I have C equals A again. I've just gone in a loop, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing actually to. The content doesn't come from anywhere because it doesn't have any external source to get the content from. It just loops around and circles on itself.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? Okay, so we have a lot of theory actually. So now we're going to go into instrumentalism. Is the method again? This is more of a methodological view, but it says
you can't equivocate methodology with epistemology.
No, but this is actually in the epistemology doctrine. I mean, I'm in the philosophy page right now, and instrumentalism is in there, I guess, in the website. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, even what they call foundherentism, which is kind of a mix of foundationalism and coherentism.
Yeah.
That you kind of have like a circularly defined set of semantic elements that all kind of circularly define each other, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, blue, yellow, and red, right? They're all part of the same color circle. You can't have one without the other kind of thing. They all kind of, in part, relate to each other in that way. Well, that's fine, and they do. But the fact of the matter is, as a whole set, that whole set of them is itself a foundationalist thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have an aspect of coherentism, but at root, it's a foundationalist.
What is
for knowledge?
Foundherentism. Yeah, foundherentism. Yeah, I guess.
So yeah, it will reduce back. I mean, if you don't do that, you end up with A equals B equals C. You just collapse it down to A equals A, and it doesn't mean anything. It just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So either you have an infinite regress, which is you just have an infinite amount of beliefs justifying each one, or you have circular reasoning, or you just have classical foundation reasoning, which is the point that is
yep.
ultra. Yeah. So I mean, that seems to be. I guess that seems to be a really. I've noticed this isn't always the case, but I've noticed that classical foundationalism seems to be a really big problem for those that deny the possibility of knowledge because they can't refute the "I think therefore I am" statement.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a few
objections
to it. Yeah. I don't see how you can get around.
You're always going to find someone object to something,
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Doubts. Okay. Would you like to point minutes? No, you guys want to go over the other objections to classical foundationalism, or do you want to move on to something else?
And of course, infinitism. It just goes back. You can't work around anything either.
Yeah, I know. But what I was saying is that you want to address. You guys want to go over the other objections to classical foundationalism, or do you just want to go over some other epistemologies that they try to hide behind? Did you guys hear me?
What do you want to do, Johanna?
I don't know.
We could talk about Hermeticism.
No.
Nah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, I did name this hangout epistemology and idealism. So I guess we could come back to the epistemology later and then figure out what we're gonna do from there. So yeah.
So as far as okay. I think let me offer that. I think that sometimes these dilemmas, as long as you're looking for a formal solution, just have to be left as is. I just kind of like the liar's paradox that people still like talking about so much,
I don't, that's ridiculous. I don't like. I've seen Carnegies.org do this. Like
what?
I don't know why people. Some of these philosophers. I mean, even though I'm not a philosopher, I just find it odd that some of them deny their own existence and then they claim that they could teach philosophy, even though they don't believe that they exist, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. That is
like that's just bringing skepticism way too far. Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. Like I don't see why they have to do that. Like if you're gonna deny your own existence, then why are you even doing philosophy in the first place?
yeah.
Now, as for the Gettier cases, some people have tried to argue against epistemology itself, where they say that, well, epistemologists, they can't define knowledge in a non-fallacious way, and so therefore knowledge is not possible or something. Well, that's kind of dumb because the Gettier cases only apply to things that are self-defeating. Because the real definition of knowledge is true justified belief without defeaters. And so, yeah, you could have a true justified belief with a defeater, but that wouldn't be knowledge because it's obviously a defeater, right? So then they define it as true justified belief without defeaters. And in the Gettier cases, of course, that would be defeaters because both people have justified knowledge, but then at the same time they have defeaters within their own knowledge, and so.
Let's see. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Jahan?
About?
Yeah, about what he just said.
Gettier
about the Gettier cases? Oh yeah, that seems. I mean, it seems like it's a repeat of the old, what is it? The brain in the vat scenario, right? You can't really know because it might be a fake thing that you're basing your foundation on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't seem. Okay, firstly, if you shift your epistemology, your ontology of it, right, and just say, well, what you're studying is not the real world anyway. It's just you're saying statements about information. It kind of changes the game, So it's like, yeah, there you. Just simply fix it by saying, identifying stuff as indicators. Just say that the stuff that is in the world you're seeing, whether it's a construct or real, is originally designated to be this premise, or identifying that truth, etc., and so on. And then you derive to a conclusion, and then that way everything becomes just kind of internal to that logical structure.
So what you're saying is that that kind of assumes
all knowledge becomes like akin to like a math proof. Then it's a manipulation of rules to a conclusion, and then that conclusion will have to be true in all cases, like Pythagoras' theorem kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pythagoras' theorem, I don't think could ever be goodbye.
We have the incompleteness theorem, which says that you can't prove anything in that.
Well, what actually proves that you can't have a complete and consistent system at the same time, and with enough things to prove stuff. But if you start with Platonic stuff, and this is why Gödel was a Platonist, by the way, if you start with Platonic knowledge, you don't have to have it complete in that sense because there's no need to prove it with anything further. It just is known.
So it's not like, okay, so what you're saying is that the I think therefore I am statement, for example, is not prove for itself. It's more like that's the starting point, so to speak.
It's a given. It's a given.
It's a no. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, the given is only the experience, the perception, not the perceiver. There's a clear distinction between that. So I think, but yeah.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. What was I saying? But okay, Johannan. But you, not all. You didn't. Did you mean to say that all knowledge has to be a manipulation of rules?
Well, you could kind of solve the Gettier's problem thing that way. Is what I'm saying.
I see.
The thing. No, in the Gettier's problem, there's a world that's actually a construct that's not really real, and so therefore, if you base your knowledge on it, you're not really basing it on it. You can get a fully valid, proof from that world, and then right after you discover it's a construct, and so none of your premises are valid. And so therefore, you don't have knowledge, right? That's kind of the whole thing. If you simply instead change that around and say that there's a table in front of me, okay? But now I'm in the matrix, it's not really a table in front of me, it's a bunch of information. But if I instead simply rigidly define, you know the concept of a rigid designator, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you take something and you simply tack a label on it and say, whenever this thing shows up, this is the label that's used. This is defined. It's this way like a bachelor is rigidly designated to be a single male, okay? Single man, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's the rigid designator for that, and you simply apply rigid designators to everything in the construct, okay? So once you discover that the world is a construct in the Gettier problem situation, right? Then all you have to do is point out that, yeah, everything, all the knowledge is defined via rigid designation there. So it's the thing that's using to prove and the thing that's being proven are both rigid designators within the construct.
I see.
The table simply now refers to a program on someone's computer in a brand new that scenario.
Right, but wouldn't that? I mean, I'm not saying this is the case, but wouldn't that kind of fall back into the whole circular reasoning problem? Like it's just, it's circular reasoning to say that it's given and then it justifies itself.
Right. Now let me get this right, Johannan. You're saying that the reason it is not circular. Are you importing the whole Platonic a priori concepts that start off as
sort of? Yeah. Well, that would actually avoid the whole thing altogether. Because I mean, you can be deceived about the outside world, but you certainly can't be deceived about the contents of your own mind.
Right. I see.
Yeah, the Gettier's problem wouldn't even apply there.
Let's see.
So it just avoids.
Can I ask you a slightly off topic?
Yep.
Kyle.
Oh yeah.
So it seems like okay, who exactly is this Aang?
Isaac Aang? Is that who you talk about?
Yeah.
He's a troll. Well, he I blocked him for like a few days.
I figured out that.
Yeah.
I figured out that much. I mean, he's very busy online.
Yeah, he's always online. It's ridiculous.
To a lot of interesting groups though, and I'm kind of glad he did. Like I've discovered some cool groups because of him.
Yeah,
and he's just always going 24/7.
There's some groups that it's like he sent me to like this one racist group. It's like black supremacists or something. Like, I don't know why, but whatever. And then he adds like almost like a lot of his friends. He adds to certain groups. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember that day when I saw you comment. That's when I saw you say, "That's it, troll. You're blocked."
Yeah. I unblocked him, but we're not friends on Facebook, so.
I see. Well, I mean, I asked him, and he says he totally agrees with Johannan's digital physics idealism.
Yeah, but he holds the self-contradictory views on other things. Like,
wait, who is this?
Isaac Aang, the guy with the.
Oh yeah, I remember him. He
says that he he's a power nihilist, but then he's also this, you know, he says that
He's a total troll.
he's a troll.
No.
He's like a nomalist. He's an idealist, but then he's also a nomalist. So he doesn't believe in Platonic forms, and then
a nominalist?
Yeah.
I see.
I challenge
power
like
nihilist?
Oh, that's it's. I gotta read that book. Basically, the idea behind it, it's a form of neo-nihilism, which it's not exactly nihilism in the sense that it's completely meaningless. It's like it's a form of power, not. It's a form of active nihilism, and it says that morality doesn't exist. Objective morality does exist, in that whatever is good or bad is by the power of the will.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why it's called.
Seriously, a Nietzschean philosophy.
Yeah, it's only in a form of meta ethics. It's not like it doesn't. You know, you could still could still believe that life has a purpose without it still be a power nihilist. But the thing with Isaac N, though, however, is that he can't equate power nihilism with nihilism itself. Like, he thinks that because he's a moral nihilist and therefore he's an existential nihilist or something.
I see. No, I don't mind him. It's kind of fun to have him around, especially in my group. Yeah, we had some. I don't know, man. We've had a little bit of drama in my group lately. Had a mod get butthurt and rage quit.
Oh, you rage quit?
Yeah. Oh, wait, what?
Rage quit?
Huh?
Yeah, I try to keep diverse opinions among my mods. Like, I try to keep my group composed of people on the right and the left, since you know I'm relatively centrist. And it's hard to do that. That's just the reality.
Well, this is how things are. I mean, in today's world. I mean, it's like ridiculously. And the thing was, I mean, I have some, obviously, I have some degree of support of, like, Trump with his immigration policies and so on. I'm not, like, super gung-ho about it, but some people are really into it, and they're more into it than, like, people who are with the culture wars.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
the culture wars have, like, shifted focus, but they've also gotten more, like, belligerent, which is kind of mysterious to me in a way. Like, it's like, wow.
Well, I gotta say, it does seem to be at the moment a liberal thing that. Well, let me frame it this way. It seems like about anywhere anything can be criticized, unfortunately, is more accommodating to conservatives.
PC culture
is associated with the concept of absolutism, and there are some people who think that some topics simply shouldn't be talked about. And my who believes that race exists is a racist.
Well, that's just stupid.
I tried to play,
but it's not really significant. I mean, it is what it is.
Hold on, I just want to ask.
I don't think it. I mean, it's slightly significant in some respects. Obviously, there are issues around it, but it's not like
whether it's significant is an entirely different idea. I mean, he would come. He would come.
Oh yeah, it exists. It exists. I mean, it's just a biological fact.
He would always say, it doesn't, race doesn't reduce to genetics. We're all, this incredible percent similar. And
that is true too. That is true too.
That's true, but
there is a tiny there's a classification beneath subspecies, and it's a kind of it applies sometimes. I think they call it a tribe or something like this.
But
once applied to lions, African lions were. I saw it applied.
To get into that is what I'm claiming. I'm claiming people can arbitrarily draw categories around any cluster of phenomena if they find it useful. Case closed.
Yeah, that doesn't make someone. Yeah, it doesn't make someone racist. Do that. It just means that they're a designator.
I don't want to go off topic, but I will say this. So, I don't think I told you this, Johan. So back in I think it was first term of high school, so when I first started junior high school. I mean, not junior high school, but junior year of high school. I took a class called Culture Studies. Literally the
Oh,
whole
boy.
class. Yeah, literally the whole class was about culture, right? And so we were discussing topics like race, politics, like a bunch of different things.
And that's not.
And me and this other kid were the only conservatives in that whole class. Everyone else was pretty much.
But it's a culture. It's a culture class, right? I mean, of course,
Yeah.
it's going to be like that.
So,
Yeah,
and
was it a elective class? Like, could you like choose not to?
elective.
Okay, yeah, of course. You're going to have all the leftists to choose that one then.
Yeah, I mean, I made the mistake of taking a sociology class some time ago at a community college, and that was the biggest load of garbage I've ever had to
Wait, sociology?
sit through.
I recall I had a number of electives
hold
I
on.
took, and some of them were in the humanities, and there were certain class categories of humanities. And I decided I took one sociology class simply because I knew it would be left wing, and I wanted to see how I would fare in it.
Hold on.
I see I could, like just to try it out.
Oh shit!
And it wasn't. I mean, the TA knew why I was in the class, and he kind of respected. He's like, okay, fair enough. You're trying to, just to see how you like, how you work with the arguments, shall we say?
You said it was sociology, right?
Yeah.
That's my class next term. My elective.
Well, I mean, you're just going to learn
No,
about
one time
surveys,
what I did
basically.
what I did though in the lecture was the professor was talking about how they called it demonology, and that it was kind of like a slur term he used to kind of brandish anything that had any kind of black and white concept of morals.
Yeah.
Like it was like to say that there is no such thing as real morality. It's all like social, dynamics and this is like people associate with religion, etc. And then he brought some other stuff up like deterrence theory, right? Like that's another criminal theory. And he's talking about his theories, right? And so I had this really clever idea. I did this in lecture, okay? And I said, hey, I had this really awesome idea that you could actually use demonology as a tool for deterrence. And so the professor's like, no, I can't explain anything. I'm like, no, you don't understand me. What I mean is, you don't use it to explain anything, but you can use it as a method in deterrence theory to promote to the masses, to get them to think that something is of the devil or evil, and therefore it will deter them from it by thinking it's, bad, etc. And this can be used as a political tool to get people to stop. And then you could see the look on his face. He's like he could see what I was doing. And it was like he stopped class right then. He's like, I have to address this right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the look on his face would have been the same as if I had a I Love Eric Cartman T-shirt on,
Yeah. So generally sociology is left wing.
Well, let's not. I mean,
I don't want to,
I don't want to poison the well, right?
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
I'm
gonna
just
be in the class next term, so I mean, I'll deal with it then.
That's not my criticism of it. If you actually want to know my criticism of it, it's an epistemic criticism.
Okay.
I place a limited value on surveys. That surveys. I mean, I don't value surveys at the same level of rigorous, epistemology as I would.
You don't think surveys are justified, like what they are claiming, right?
Well, yeah, for very obvious reasons. People can lie. People can not understand the questions. The questions can be arranged in a biased way.
Yeah, I know.
Contaminated samples. You may not get. How are you going to reproduce a survey because if you're actually doing this right, then you're going to interview different people next time.
Yeah.
Interview different people next time, then you won't get the same results. And so,
for example, I understand what you're saying. I have an example I wanted to tell you guys. I don't know if you know about Shahanan, but so there was a recent survey done like last year. They surveyed like 76 physicists, and 63% of them accepted Bohemian mechanics. 63, but I knew
that is suspicious.
I knew that that had to be extremely like biased sample size.
Ridiculously biased, because Copenhagen NWI would definitely be more popular.
Yeah, I know.
Hey guys, I've got to I have to kind of cut it short tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
All right.
but I gotta address IRL, real life.
I see.
But let me know next time y'all are doing something.
Want to hear something funny before you go, Gasper?
Yes, what?
You know Eric Mackey? I think you might know him on Facebook.
Not sure. What group is he in?
I forget. He's one of the Idealism guys. So, but anyway, he showed the digital physics argument video to his cousin and his cousin's girlfriend, who were both, well, his cousin's an atheist, his cousin's girlfriend is an agnostic, formerly an atheist, and both of them like hate religion, okay? Like they want to get rid of it because they don't like its political influence. So they showed him the digital physics argument, right? You know what her response was?
What?
Oh shit. ...
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't talk to him for like a week, and then like we came back and it was like, my mind's being blown. This is crazy.
Well, it's less succinct to chop things up, and to separate material from a priori concepts. Like, I mean, if you did want to look at everything as information and consciousness, then it would actually solve problems like this Celersian dilemma. For example, let's look at the whole framework of deductive proofs and treat it kind of like that neuron input, processing, output. The information goes in, it gets processed, it gets put out the other end, and what is being processed is the content, whatever you want to call that. So I mean, it solves a lot of arguably, but what you have to do is you have to accept a little bit of philosophy, to do that.
Just a little bit, yeah.
But
I mean, it's not even like deep philosophy either. It's just like when you add this whole framework in, and you just some very elementary philosophic things, you can solve problems in a very easy way.
Yeah. I actually think it's the less succinct thing to consider there to be these two components of material and mind, than to actually stay at square one and let everything be mind. But at any rate, it's good talking to you guys. I'll see y'all around the groups, and let me know next time y'all are. I won't. I'll try to stay around longer next time. but I kind of need to run.
I understand.
All right, that's fine.
Alrighty, see y'all.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Okay. So, LDove commented. He said the survey was among quantum found. Oh shit, that's what it was. But the whole survey I just talked to you mentioned. It was surveyed among quantum foundation experts, and Copenhagen is only popular among people who don't specialize in foundations.
And digital physics?
No, I'm talking about the
Copenhagen. Well, that would make sense because Copenhagen by itself, I mean,
it is the shut up and calculate. Yeah, the shut up and calculate interpretation. That's what I call it. I call it the shut up and calculate.
Which is retarded.
Because the thing with that interpretation is that it's they don't treat it like they only treat it as like they say they don't take in the philosophical implications of that interpretation. They just say that it's a mathematical tool, and so it can't. It doesn't apply to reality. It's only a tool that we use to predict.
That's mentally retarded.
Yeah. I asked LDub to send the link for the survey. He hasn't done that yet, but it was among. I mean, I even then, if that's the case, I mean, I highly question whether that's even an accurate source, so to speak. Like, I don't see how any physicist can even hold to Bohemian mechanics.
Well, you're going to have some. I mean, just because there's, people that want to be materials and so on.
Because I know the survey was among 76, which is really, to be honest, it's not that much.
Yeah, it's not that much.
Even if you were to have like 300 physicists saying that Bohemian mechanics is true, that's nothing compared to.
I got a phone book of like 75,000 physicists, so.
Yeah, I know.
That's not gonna work. very outdated one book from 20 years ago, probably now, maybe 15 years ago, but it's there. Yeah, 15 years ago, I think.
So Alberto commented, he's trying to understand the model. So, would objects exist within space-time and be abstract objects themselves, or would they just?
Yes, but we wouldn't see them as such.
So it would be kind of a Plato's cave analogy. Like we're only
Yeah,
seeing...
exactly. We're seeing them as that's a weird way to think of it. Yeah, they are Platonic objects, but we're not seeing them as Platonic objects.
Okay.
It's kind of spooky. Like you think of them as things, and then here's an example. You're in a dream, right?
Yeah.
The world's real, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And you wake up, and as you're waking up, sometimes when you're of a dream and you're waking up during the middle of the dream, you kind of like fades in.
Oh yeah, like sometimes you could see somebody standing there next to your bed while you're...
No, but like I'm saying is the dream images fade away, but they're still like partly in your head as you're waking up.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it suddenly it kind of shifts from being empirical to being introspective. Like the same thing that you recognize as an image you were seeing, now you start to see it as a form, an idea in your head.
Yeah, right.
So an idea in your head is a form. So it's a Platonic object. You just didn't recognize it. You saw it as empirical.
But now
then
it's...
it shifts perspective, and it exactly. And Hoffman models it the same way in his whole conscious realism thing. It's
so the thing is that it's really everything introspective in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get at with the whole, foundationalist argument equivalent of the shared inner space concept.
Yeah, because that'll pretty much solve the issue.
That will totally nuke people's intuitions if they can do that.
That's like a... How should I compare it? It's like a beyond, how in Super Saiyan you have... I mean, I don't know if you watch Dragon Ball Z, but they have Super Saiyan and Beyond Super Saiyan. Well, the foundationalist argument is like Super Saiyan, but then this is going to be like Beyond Super Saiyan.
Yeah. This is just... I mean, that's going to be so nuclear that it's like you can't even go back to materialism.
Yeah, I know.
The outside world is now in the inside world. It's not even everything you could,
Same thing with causation too, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Because causation would just be object, like object. So I don't know if LDub is gonna give me the link for that survey, because I want to show you the survey just to see it. Is it only apparent? Would you think the causation is only apparent, or is it... John, do you think causation is only apparent? Like it's not... It doesn't...
At a very fundamental level, yes. It does map an actual logical relation going on there, but it's obviously if it's B theory, right?
Yeah.
It's a big film strip at some level. Then obviously at some point it's not. It's a relation rather than a causation. Even if what causation is, even if there is a reason why causes follow effects and so on, in a logical way, it's due to a relation.
Yeah. So what I kind of... So today, I don't want to get too personal, but this morning I was like exhausted. Like I couldn't sleep last night, and I literally did not fall asleep until like 4 o'clock. Wake up 2 hours later, and I was like going in and out of sleep during class, like first period. And I was like,
your coffee.
I was dreaming for like 5 or 6 seconds, and then I woke up like, oh, like it was ridiculous. Anyway, so I had an idea. I think the thing that we're missing in this whole switching people's intuitions, I think there is a clue within how dreams work. Because in dreams,
it's Platonic.
When you're in them,
empirical
first, but then when you wake up, it's... So if we can figure out how to essentially make people intuit that they're dreaming, but not dreaming in the sense that they're sleeping, but rather that dreaming is reality in a sense, then we could technically make that, invert that intuition. So,
yep.
there's a few pieces that we're missing, I feel. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, and we'll figure it out. I mean, we figured some of it out already. That everything that we see has to be referred back to the Platonic form.
Yeah.
Everything we see has an essence to its existence.
Right. Just give me a second. I'm gonna try to look up that survey. I don't know. See if I can show you.
Yep.
Let's see here. All the ones are from 2013 to 2016. I don't have any ones.
You had the other one that was showing the very high number of people who believe that like 22% now believe that the observer causes collapse, right?
That was 2016 one, I think.
Okay, that one's good.
Let's see.
Foamian mechanics is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
There's no way.
Yeah,
he's got to make his video debunking that.
Well, I highly doubt. I mean, it's only 76 physicists. Like,
I know, but still.
Like, there has to be a flaw with.
I think it's so funny when the William Lane Craig people always cite all these physicists they claim are, in favor of Bohmism that like matters. I'm like, yeah, I see all those. Is that true according to all these people who are, adopting? Like, well, yeah, but see, I can go on the phone book, and for every name you find there, I can find like 200 names of people that don't,
Yeah.
My APS. There you go.
Hold on, I think I might have just found it. No. There's no survey.
Well, this is interesting. You know how they say Mars used to have water on it some million years ago?
Yeah.
I see, like water. There were the Curiosity, and there's no way to test until they go up there. The Curiosity rover went up there, and they said these weird tube-like structures. They look like Ordovician era trace fossils.
Yeah.
It'd be cool is it like millions of years ago there was an ocean and they were like primitive, like things equivalent to like sea crinoids or something.
Yeah.
Not alive anymore, but fossilized. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And they're very small. He said probably on the order of 1 millimeter or 2 in width. The longest one stretching is roughly 5 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
Saw this right now. You'd have to go up there really to see it. It could be crystals too, though. Maybe act like it's entirely possible in some way.
You know what's weird is that, like, people, what I've noticed with especially with quantum mechanics, that they say that we don't understand it. It's been like, oh, quantum mechanics has been around for hundreds of years, but yet we still don't understand it. Well, yeah, you don't understand it because you don't have a physicalist theory that can.
Oh yeah, that's like that one quantum non-realism block. Like the reason you don't understand is because you don't understand it in terms of a physical, a physicalist materialist theory. And so therefore, you say all the people who are, trying to actually understand it in terms of something, of a different ontology that actually works, explains everything, is therefore woo because it's not physicalist. And therefore, basically, if you claim, if you use quantum mechanics to argue for physicalism, against physicalism, they say it's woo, and if you don't, you just like suspend judgment. then you can't use it that way. And so it's like no matter what you do, they'll prevent you from trying to.
What I've noticed, like, I haven't even seen that woo. I haven't seen it.
Oh, that's good. I think they've become embarrassed with that now, because that woo accusation is simply not credible anymore in light of all these.
I just wonder, like, how long much longer.
It's actually embarrassing, to be honest, when people use that argument.
Yeah. I just kind of wonder how much longer this materialist redefining word is going to. There's got to be a point where there's just.
You got to start mocking it. Just point out that this is just in the goalposts. We can't do this. And it's not like they even shifted the goalposts just once or something, like a mild redefinition. This has been happening for way too long. It's all over the place all the time.
I just think of it, if they're gonna redefine materialism to what we call idealism, then just point that out and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best we can do, I guess.
That'll be funny when that happens, there, because I can see that happening.
Let's just redefine it.
Yeah. Because there's a specific kind of information that they're defining space-time as emerging from, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's suppose you keep expanding that enough, right? And you get to like integrated information theory. It uses the same information, and they confirm some quantum mechanical equivalent of that, right?
Yeah.
And then we just say, oh, and by the way, space number is the same mathematical definition, and so they just pop idealism out without, they're still calling it materialism, but it's idealism now.
Yeah. That's gonna happen. Well, one materialist theory, I guess, is panpsychist physicalism. They say that you can solve the hard problem by saying that.
You can, but a lot of materialists don't like that because it's, it's so similar to idealism in some ways.
It is. Because then the universe would be conscious in a way.
Yeah.
It's just matter with. You would still have.
Problem is with panpsychism is that it makes consciousness a property rather than a thing. You can always imagine a consciousness by itself without, anything. So therefore, it technically would fail in that regard.
Well, technically, I think the biggest objection is I can't remember what it's called. It's called the combination problem. How do you get that would be like a new objection to this physicalist panpsychism, is how do you get a bunch of small conscious things like protons, neutrons to come together to create one conscious being.
Yep.
So. And I'm sure there's a way we could figure out a way how to still make a, let's say, epistemic problem for panpsychist materialism. So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to discuss? The comments aren't saying anything right now, so we can't really.
I would like to get Eric in here eventually, because he's. It's been about 20 minutes. So I'll let you know when I get there. I want to see what happens with his cousin's girlfriend. It's his cousin's girlfriend, rather. Like, that would be totally cool to pull them in and blow their minds. That'd probably be a very long. That would be interesting if we could do that on air.
Or on air.
Blow someone's mind.
Let's see. Oh wait, okay. LW is okay. You might want to check out Ron. Since the moral systems of all the minds. Have you ever heard of No, L Dove, I'm asking, do you have the survey for the quantum foundations? That's what I'm asking. So L Dove, if you're listening, that's what. Hold on, Johannan. I'm gonna see if I can get that survey. So integrated information theory. I've seen some materialists argue for integrated information theory and say that it's a physicalist theory.
It can be. I mean, it can be. It certainly can be if it's attached to a material substrate. But it doesn't have to be. Is the thing. The whole point is that it's ontology neutral. So yeah, you can have.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't see how dualism could fit with that, but I guess
Yeah, I mean, if by physicalism they mean monism, sure, but this is not. A lot of them are not realizing that there's a different kind of monism.
So it's not. I mean, it could certainly work with physicalism, but it doesn't.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of Ron Maimon's moral theory? Oh, okay. Hold on. LDev has it. Okay. I'm gonna try to copy and paste the. I have to. This computer sucks. Hold on, Johan. I'll show you in a minute. Okay. Let's see here. I'll show you, and then once I get it, I'll screen share it to you, and you can tell me what you think. Here we go. Give me like 1 minute. Wait, that's the same. Dove, that's the same one from 2013. Okay. Wait, change. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me change it again. Let's see. It's the 63. I know, but what year was it? Because if it's LW, if it's 2013, then that's already been established. Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Let's see. All right. I'm gonna screen share it. I'll let you see it, Johannan. He said it's the same. It was the same year as it was in 2013. Tell me what you think. I think this is the one. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty certain this wasn't. I'm gonna make sure. Tell Dove. Okay, they're both okay. That's fine. Randomness. Which one? Okay, let's go down to interpretations. Let's see. Or
Go up to Einstein's. Go up to Einstein's for a second.
Wait, what?
Go up to Einstein's for a second.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. At least most, like, it's pretty pathetic that 28% still think it's right.
Yeah, I know.
45% being wrong is a sigh of relief there.
Okay, it's question 12. Okay,
It'll
so
be so awful if it
yeah, I know.
seriously
It's,
still. It's terrible. I mean, like, classically, the history of quantum mechanics is that Einstein was wrong. I mean, that is just like a known fact.
Yeah, I know.
And that they have 28% still thinking that is embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here, let's go.
It almost reminds me of these like creationist, people who say, but that's what they all say because academia is biased and all the scientists are a conspiracy.
Okay, here, Johan. This is the different one. I didn't actually know this. So it said a survey proposing this was a response, I guess, to Zellinger and his 33 participants, and so they took another, let's say, sample of physicists. So I just want to make that clear. So this is actually different than the one that Zellinger did. So we'll go through each. You want to go through each one and then tell me what you think, Johanan, and then we'll. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. So the big one is question 12. So we would agree with the first one. Randomness would be only. It would only be apparent. Or, do you think it's a fundamental concept of nature, Johanan? Randomness?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you agree that physical objects?
How many people do? Go up.
It's 24. You see that, right? 24%.
Well,
Yeah.
that's odd. 26% say it's irreducible. So how come that would make it fundamental, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Some of these surveys kind of.
Oh my goodness!
Weird. Yeah, I know.
There is hidden determinism. Are they nuts?
That's like creationists saying, well, even though all the evidence points to evolution, oh well, there could be some hidden fossils that disprove evolution, and it's ridiculous. Okay. Anyways, do you believe that physical objects have their properties well defined prior? Okay, this is a really 30% say yes.
They're retards. Do you believe physical objects have their
And then they said yes in some cases, and then 70%.
That may be more plausible, even though it kind of undermines. I mean, once they realize the fact that, like, you know what, I would be more interested to see in very specific areas, like not like very specific subsets of physics, like quantum computation scientists, as well as quantum gravity people. It may be different here.
That's ridiculous.
I'm guessing right there because if you think about this, this is an example of one of them. Remember, I was talking about extra scientific or unscientific opinions of scientists.
Yeah.
This is not the A and B do not come from their scientific training or their expertise.
Yeah, I know.
Because the science actually says the opposite.
Yeah.
It's just false. It's false. Now they have properties there of some kind, but they're not physical properties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would agree with you there. Yeah. So. Okay, we already went over question 3, so.
That's just stupid. The fact that
Borghene's view. Okay, what was Bohr's view again? I can't recall. Was it?
I think that was it's Copenhagen.
Okay, is wrong. Whoa, 70%.
I think some of them are saying that one. They say it's wrong, but Bohr has to also be wrong too. They just don't know.
That's.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wasn't it? Yeah, but I know. But during the time, like before the falsification of local, or before they came up with Bell's theorem, wasn't there like this battle within the physics community?
Yeah, there was.
It was Einstein versus Bohr or something like that.
This just demonstrates how stupid they are. Like some of them are just not getting any of this.
The measurement problem. Okay, I think we would both agree that it's a pseudo problem, right? Under idealism, it wouldn't really be a problem, right? But then 51% is solved in a different way, and then 37% it's severely threatening quantum mechanics, which.
No, it's severely threatening your retarded materialism.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Okay, they're determinists, and they... Okay. Wow. Oh, wait. Yeah.
They're Bohmists. Yeah, Bohmists are idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even funny. They got their head stuck up their ass, to be honest. That's how Bohmists are.
Yeah.
You argue with a Bohmist is like arguing with a creationist or a cultist.
Well, I know Bohm's theory, Bohemian mechanics, is deterministic in nature, so yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Similar with arguing with most Lorentzians. I mean, like.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, it's not so bad when you say that the ether has a frame, but it's not absolute. It's just one that distorts everything with respect to it. So they try and bring in absolute space, and you're talking with cultists.
Yeah. And then Lubus Malt also thinks that Model. Sorry, I can't say his name, but yeah. Also thinks they probably are retards. So.
That Bohemians are retards.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, he's generally right. He knows what he's talking about.
I know. Yeah, I like his blog. He's actually quite funny. He says he cusses a lot. It's hilarious.
He's very smart too. I mean, he's like genius. Like, yeah.
Anyways, all right. Let's go to this question 6. So, what is the message of the observed violation of Bell's? Okay, local realism. Okay, we would agree that local realism is false. Action at a distance in the physical world. Some know. Okay. This is actually good right here. Question 6. I think there is non-locality. I mean, local realism is pretty much dead at this point. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that would make sense just by the fact that their Bohemian mechanics is a non-local hidden variable theory. So
you sound like Model. I also think to read this Eldo's comments. Yeah. I'm pretty much on the same page with Model there.
Yeah.
They're dumb, and they're not just dumb; they're retards.
Oh yeah.
They're so wrong. It's not even funny, and they should know better. But they don't want. The problem is they don't want to believe it, so that's why they do that. You know.
Yeah.
If people want to believe something, they do things they shouldn't.
All right, let's go to question 7. What about quantum information? It's a breath. It's a breath of fresh air for quantum foundations. It's useful for application, but no relevance to quantum foundations. It's neither useful nor fundamentally relevant. We'll need to wait to see. So,
yeah, well, these are Bomas that were being interviewed.
I think yeah.
L-Dub said. Yeah, that explains. I mean, that's just useful application. I mean, that reminds me of that stupid pragmatic shut up and calculate approach.
Shut up and calculate. Yeah, exactly.
That's retarded. I have no respect for that at all.
Oh God. Okay.
We already kind of do it.
Okay, this one's hilarious. Okay. When will we have a working and useful quantum computer? 9% says within 10 years, 22% in 10 to 20 years, in 20 to 50 years, we have 20%. In 50 to 100 years, we have 21%. And then we have 12% that say never. Okay. I'm actually very surprised at 12%.
Don't we already have a quantum computer? I mean, it's not just the D-Wave. They've been upgrading since then.
I think they have a prototype. I'm not sure if they have the full.
They have a prototype, and they've been upgrading stuff since then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but literally 12% said never. I mean, how could you? So they're gonna. So what's gonna happen when quantum computers come out? Like, are they just gonna say, "Oh, well, that doesn't exist," or like? So stupid. That question is actually quite hilarious. It just shows that these people are ridiculous. Like, oh my God.
Yep.
Okay. What interpretation of quantum states do you prefer? Epistemic, ontological, a mix of epistemic and ontological, purely statistical. Okay, so 45% say ontological, 9% say epistemic, and 12% say a mix. So, what do you think about this, Johanan? So,
what interpretation of quantum states do you prefer? So, yeah, epistemic, I think, is just that it's not really there beforehand. It's a tool, right?
Yeah.
I would say ontic then.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is good. You see at least that there's scientific realists about that.
Yeah, so that's good. The observer. Okay, so now this one's. Okay, so is a complex quantum system should play no fundamental.
Look at the 24%.
Plays.
How intellectually dishonest do they have to be? Now, of course, this is the Bohemian mechanics people who are completely retarded.
I know.
Like, And how do you expect to explain consciousness? I mean, unless you go like full retard in either the limited materialist camps or the dualist camps.
Yeah, no.
Both are full retard. The materialists are worse full retard.
So I'm gonna ask Eldov if he wants. Eldov, if you can hear us, send us. I don't know if Molt did a if Lubus Molt did a blog on this, then send it. I want to read it because I'm sure his reaction.
Would I send him a link to this hangout? You mean, or this?
No, he's in. No, not. Oh, should I send a link to the hang? Hey, Eldov, you want to join this hangout?
Maybe send a link to the survey. Yeah.
Hold on, let me see.
It's truly pathetic. Like, you know, what really bugs me is when Christians adopt this, right?
Yeah, I know.
And they hold it more obstinately than materialists. Most materialists will tell you Bohmian mechanics is nonsense, even though materialists are the ones who would have the vested interest in holding to Bohmian mechanics above everyone else, you know?
Yeah.
But the Christian, many of especially like the classical apologetics sorts, right? They do this. And it's so stupid because it makes such a train wreck of everything. The physics is a complete disaster. But not only is it a disaster, it's a disaster that undermines, actually, Bohmian mechanics is incompatible with free will.
In a sense, yeah.
The old quantum eraser thing, remember?
I mean, it's compatible with compatibilism, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're not the kind of libertarian, and they insist to know that because that's a philosophic thing. And no, you don't get it. Even if it's a philosophic thing, the mind would be able to do certain, the experiment will make certain choices, which would definitely or definitely not determine things in the quantum eraser experiment.
Yeah. So.
But the whole point is that if the quantum eraser experiment has determined the past, that determines the experimenter's choice in the present, whether or not his choice is only decidable by free will.
Yeah.
Only discoverable by I'm not thinking straight. It's not studyable by philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they refuse to get it, and I think there's this very sort of obstinate desire to hold to dualism.
But why?
I don't know. It's retarded. They come up with these like cockamamie theological arguments for it, which make no sense. Like it's not even irrelevant. Like it's
yeah.
Like what you're arguing could just be changed by it's like saying, protons have positive charge, therefore the moon is made of Swiss cheese. Like, so what? And they get huge butt hurt over it if you don't agree with their conclusion that the moon is made of Swiss cheese. It's the end of the world.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're very close to the really bad question. Okay. Anyway, so the question 11, reconstruction of quantum theory. So gives useful insights had to supersede interpretation. Give useful insights, but will need interpretation. Cannot solve the problems of quantum foundations. Will lead to a new theory deeper than quantum mechanics. And most say no, but I think.
Well, yeah, it's called conscious realism.
Yeah, I know. I mean, do you think it is? I mean, technically, both quantum gravity and conscious realism are kind of new, deeper theory.
Yeah, I mean, conscious realism is kind of a quantum gravity theory. Yeah, that is exactly. That is the deeper. Which is kind of funny. Is idealism is the deeper theory. Idealism is the theory of everything.
Yeah. So. Okay, now this next one's gonna be. You're gonna flip out on this next one because this is okay. All right.
Oh, I love the hilarious stuff. Okay, now, yeah, this one.
And then look, the other one, 16%. GRW, that's even worse.
That's even worse. Okay, if this is, I mean, I'm not too fond of the Everett thing, even though I'm starting to question aspects of what that whole, shared inner space with modal realism component, possibly deriving it. But both of MWI is far superior to both Berkeley Bohm and GW. Like it's like, what in the world? Like
this is so bad.
lunatics. I mean,
look. It's,
I mean, these people from Bohemian mechanics are like they haven't learned anything from like 100 years of physics. Like physics has essentially told them your intuitions. You shouldn't trust your intuitions, and so they jack their whole head up their ass and like. Therefore, we have to undermine. You know, I made a convoluted train wreck.
Oh. Crap. You back?
For a second, I don't know why.
Okay. All right. What were you saying?
Yeah, they make a convoluted train wreck out of the physics. Or actually, what they do is the physics has told them. Last 100 years of physics has told them you can't do this with the physics. Okay.
Yeah.
It's wrong-headed to be doing this with the physics. That physics tells you that your intuitions are false, right? And instead, they refuse to, learn the lesson of physics, which is what physics is trying to tell them, that your intuitions are something false about the world, and so they just stick their whole head up their ass anyway, and then try and make a train wreck out of the physics to say, therefore, our intuitions. We like our intuitions more than the physics, so we're just going to rearrange the physics until it fits our intuitions.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but the fact that Everett, for example, has 0% in this survey, like.
This is obviously biased.
This has to be biased. I don't see how it could not be biased.
There's no way. Everett is. I mean, it has its problems, right? We the whole.
It's way better.
Weird.
Yeah, I know.
Happened a second time. I don't know why. Yeah, Everett has its issues, but it's by far. I mean, it's at least one that is a valid.
And it could work with idealism.
Yeah.
You can derive idealism.
Yeah,
right,
like it's.
Wow. How
What?
about things you switch? Never. Most people, of course, most are bohemians. Once, 34%.
Yeah, that's funny because I've seen lots of other interpretations where people switch. Lots of Republican people switch, and they switch back, or they sometimes hold to like combinations of them at a time.
I know.
Like, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. I have a little bit of aspect of MWI in me now.
Look. Okay, now they're okay. At least they're being honest. Okay, how much of the choice of interpretation is a matter of personal philosophical prejudice?
Yep, they just admitted they had their whole head stuck up their ass. None of their opinions is. I mean, none of their opinions regarding this has anything to do with the science.
Like, okay, most of them, they admit that they hold the Bohemian mechanics.
Like, even idealism, I didn't adopt idealism before the physics showed it. I mean, I had monism before the physics got there, and I got that from my philosophy studies, it was kind of pan-experientialism. I didn't identify it as idealism, per se.
Yeah. Wow. A couple months ago, there was a 50-qubit computer that maintains a quantum state for 90 microseconds.
Yep.
So,
there's the end of that.
Yeah, there's the end of that. God, it's so stupid. 12% saying that quantum computers don't exist. It's hilarious.
Okay, that's just ridiculous. A lot.
Superpositions of microscopic distant states are in principle possible. Well, they're already been experienced.
Notice. I mean, having a little bit. Go back to the other one, 14 for a second. A little is reasonable. I mean, obviously, you kind of down.
Oh, sorry.
14.
For which one?
Down.
What question?
14. Number 14.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I do.
Okay, choice number B there is reasonable because I mean, obviously, you kind of bring philosophy into, dialogue with physics when it comes to this kind of area, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a lot tells me that they're leading to physics, which is boneheaded.
Yeah.
They want it to be true, and so they're gonna shoehorn nonsense through.
I mean, at least they admit it.
Yeah. Why would anyone even want that? It's such a retarded view of the world.
Whatever. Superpositions, okay, are principle possible. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Okay. In 50 years, we will have conferences devoted to quantum foundations. Probably yes.
It's entirely possible, and the reason it's entirely possible is because we have jackasses like this in the world.
Yeah.
So of course there are going to be conferences on this because.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the ideal, I can conceive of a social movement. I mean, like what we're talking about, like how Donald Trump busted up politics.
Yeah.
If someone busts up academia in the same way Donald Trump did the politics, I could very well see.
Yeah, I know.
That would totally
could happen. Yeah, that could happen.
Go back to the comments for a second. Oh, he thought it'd be fun to make a form-proof Johannes digital physics at the old studio. That's cool. Yep. Yeah, as long as you have materialists in the world, there will be conferences on the foundations of quantum mechanics ad infinitum.
Yep.
Because they're trying to stick a square head up a round ass, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good mixing of analogies to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Curling their blockhead up the round ass.
Okay, now we're going to discussion. So, in many ways, the results of the survey speak for themselves. Of particular interest, though, there are several ways in which our picture differs substantially from the snapshot taken by Zellinger. To quantify this, we computed the square of the difference.
Chalmers had a different one, right?
No, Zellinger.
But there was a third poll as well, though, and it showed.
Yeah, that's the 2016 one. Yeah, that one's more accurate, I think. But.
Yeah, no doubt you got this. I'm pretty certain this survey was a bunch of Bohmian mechanics who had all their friends, and they're like, let's just not realizing what a clique they were. I mean, maybe it's entirely possible that they actually did this in some honest sense, but were like totally cliquish.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bohmian mechanics people are notoriously cliquish. It's ridiculous. Like, far more so than any. I mean, the MWI people and the Copenhagen people talk to each other,
Oh, God.
The Bohmian mechanic people are ridiculously cliquish.
Okay, this is... Okay, it says...
It's a cult. It's literally a cult.
It is... Well, literally... Okay, I'm reading this right now. Boehm received 0 votes of endorsement in the original Zellinger survey, obviously. And then it says, quote, the fact that the Bohmian mechanics interpretation did not receive any votes may simply be an artifact of the particular set of participants we polled. Our results strongly confirm this suspicion. Well, no freaking nerd, you just did the same damn thing. You just took a bunch
of... exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, Zellinger's poll also was very small.
I know.
The survey size was not really big enough to get a... You could get a slight blurry snapshot, but it wasn't enough to really define things the way they need to be defined.
Right. Yeah. Okay, continuing on, our results clearly suggest that though any such interpretation of these sorts of poll results as indicating as meaningful temporal shift in attitudes should be taken with a rather large grain of salt, as it is almost certainly not the case, for example, that the striking shift toward many worlds view occurred in the part. Okay, I would agree with that yes, polls are not, especially if you have a small poll.
Yeah.
I would agree that,
the larger the poll, the better. Yep.
Yeah, the larger the poll, the better, yeah. I would mostly agree with that, so. Quantum, okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. But yeah, this one was actually done in the same year. It's kind of like a response to Anton Zellinger survey. So the different answers given by the respondents in the Zellinger poll can perhaps be understood similarly, for example, by reference to the fact that Anton Zellinger one of the leading proponents of a kind of, they call it Neo-Copenhagen approach to understanding quantum theory, was one of the organizers, or perhaps, it's called Neo-Copenhagen because it's actually getting to the philosophical implications in the first place. So yeah, I mean, I understand how they call it Neo-Copenhagen interpretation, but that they say that because that is taken in the philosophical. Like I don't understand what these physicists are trying to, like, they're literally trying
the
to.
guy running this poll was trying to intentionally
yeah, I know.
Like what? He's just complaining that they actually had physicists trying to figure out what was going on, basically.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
Because it doesn't fit their retard theory of the world.
Okay, so with the possible exception in the case discussed in reference 11, it is not at all the goal to criticize the existence of bias in the determination of whom should be invited to attend a given conference. Bias here simply means that potential attendees are selected in accordance with the extent to which their individual interests.
They did this entire poll as a reaction to the Zeilinger poll.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what's pathetic is the Zeilinger poll did not have an agenda in mind.
I know.
Like the very fact that they see the Zeilinger poll as having an agenda, so they have to react to it, demonstrates how reactionary they actually are against quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
And then you see that with the very strongly biased.
I mean, it's obviously biased. It's obvious. Like, I understand they're trying to react to it's biased.
The very fact that they're trying to react, though, demonstrates that they don't know. Like it's not the physicists who are biased. It's not Zeilinger who's biased. It's the physics that's biased. I mean, like, yes, reality has a bias towards idealism, essentially. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't call it bias, but yeah, I mean,
I know the real world, quote unquote bias. Like it's a it's a point of sarcasm there. Like, yes, that's the point. Okay.
Yeah. And perspectives align with the goals, and so whatever. Our point in stressing the role of attendance bias is instead this: none of these polls, our own very much included, should be taken too seriously as capturing a meaningful snapshot of anything but the views of a small and biased minority. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a biased minority. It's an informed minority that they got that conclude. Like they're biased, quote unquote, because they're taking the science literally, rather than they're biased because they're not adopting retarded head up your ass biased physics.
This is the acknowledgement. This is hilarious. Thanks to the organizers of Quantum Theory Without Observers for letting us inflict a survey of the participants, and thanks for the participants who so graciously took.
Oh, for crying out! Without there you go.
Yep. Done.
I mean, literally, it's like we just sampled. 10 out of 10 Democrats agree Hillary Clinton should have won the election.
I know.
I mean, like, what the heck?
It's literally just what they.
It's literally what they did. This is hack like poll. I mean, this is literally like the kind of biased poll sampling crap you see sometimes. Like, I mean, they just admitted that that's what they were doing. Like, it's how can we skew the number? I mean, you saw those WikiLeaks things where they had like what's his name, Podesta, emailing like people from like the Pew Research poll or whatever, or the Reuters poll, and it was like, everyone, please tell. These are the new set of poll. Actually, I saw one of them actually. It mentioned in the WikiLeaks email. These are the new set of poll corrections. Please pass them along to the other pollsters so they all get the right averages around the same area. And it was like, you just admitted that you were skewing the polls and that you had to send those corrections to all the other pollsters so they could skew them in the same way so that it wouldn't look fishy.
That is ridiculous.
I mean, that's literally what they just admitted to doing here.
No, that's, if you read the acknowledgments, that's what it literally
Quantum
says.
foundations without, I mean, they literally had their own WikiLeaks expose in there, like quantum foundations without observers. Like, I mean, like, well, of course, you sampled a bunch of people who were, like,
Yeah.
You did a biased sample in the first place, and you even admitted you did a biased sample in the first place.
So yeah,
it's not that at all. It's just quantum foundations. It was just how do we explain quantum mechanics?
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with like let's only get like so let's it'd be like as if I only polled idealists to try and like figure out what the
I know
quantum mechanics was.
it's ridiculous.
Yep.
So yeah,
it's a cult. It's a retarded cult.
Yeah.
Lubos model was completely right on that.
Yep. I wasn't actually expecting that.
And that admission of bias is so hilarious. It's not even funny.
They admitted that they're biased. Oh my god.
I mean, it's almost like having a poll, one of those skewed polls, and then having and here's the WikiLeaks email, the WikiLeaks file exposing how biased we were when we did the poll.
I know.
Thanks to WikiLeaks for exposing how biased we were.
It literally, yeah, it's.
I mean, why bother writing that entire article then?
It was used as a reaction, essentially.
You know what's pathetic about this? Quantum mechanics is the whole notion that the observation is something that exists out there in the world.
Yeah.
Is the only thing that bridges the subject-object explanatory gap in philosophy of mind.
I know, but they don't like it.
It's an objective thing that exists in the world, and it's also a subjective thing. So therefore, it's both, fits the objective external world and the subjective mental world. You need that as a tool to bridge subject, because otherwise you got the hard problem. It's just material on the one side, mental on the other side. There's nothing that bridges. Like literally, quantum mechanics is the only thing that makes any sense to bridging that. And it's like, on the one side, you have these really retarded views of the mind, like materialism.
Yeah.
Functionalism is ridiculous on its face. Emergentism is, as we know,
magic.
An appeal to magic. Yes, it's literally I don't know, therefore emergence did it. Like they actually say strong emergence can't have an explanation. And eliminativism is beyond retarded. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's so retarded, it's not even wrong. And say it's wrong is an understatement. And then there's dualism, which is kind of okay on one half, but then it gets like
terrible on the other
stupid and magical on the other half, And so you have those theories, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is full retard idiot speak. Like I don't even see functionalism as a coherent view of the world, like, given that what we're referring to as a mind is something that can exist independent or anything, and processes always can only be conceived of in connection to processors. It's not referring to the same thing.
Right.
So anyway, these word designators wouldn't be referring to the same thing. So anyway, yeah, materialism is incoherent nonsense when it comes to the mind, and dualism is magic. So there's that. None of that fits. Then you have quantum mechanics, and the concepts of quantum mechanics don't fit. I mean, it's literally bashing a blockhead up a round ass,
Yeah. It's either they have to either make ad hoc interpretations or say that
materialism does not fit quantum mechanics, okay?
Yeah.
Just like materialism does not fit consciousness, right? Philosophy of mind.
Yeah.
And so they try and like stick their whole head up their ass on both of these areas, right?
Yeah.
When instead of they pulled their heads out of their ass, they'd see that these two things fit together hand in glove.
But they don't like this philosophical.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is.
It's just like what IP said the other day. I mean, it's
the only reason, given the knowledge. Yeah. Say what? What do you say?
It's really hard to for people to change their beliefs about the world.
Yeah, that's why you go for fresh people. Like Eric's people. I mean, they're his cousin and his cousin's girlfriend. They're atheists, but they're not like. Even though they want atheism to be true for like political reasons or whatever, they don't have their head stuck up their ass when it comes to philosophy. And so now he's able to show all this stuff, and it's blowing their mind. So what we got to do is undermine these people who just bypass, ignore them. They're not relevant. We know they got their head stuck up their ass in both areas. We know that arguing with them is akin to arguing with young Earth creationists and flat earthers. So we just ignore that, and instead what we do is we go for the new people and just show them. And then once we swamp, you just end up swamping the place.
Just get it. Yep.
Like Ellis Farrell, he was an atheist, right?
Yeah,
No, he's like a Spinozian. He's one of our admins, in Idealism
Yeah.
of Science. Unless Thomas removed him because Thomas is a bit butthurt when it comes to SJW kind of stuff, but I'm gonna fix that probably. Anyway,
So So before I end the broadcast, the one thing that I think we're missing is, of course, how do we invert people's intuitions from the outside world to the inside world? That's our next goal.
that's the next goal.
If we can do that, we could pretty much answer the biggest objection I've seen.
And that's the answer, but it's going to make that once people have that intuition, it's going to be so much harder to get them out.
Yeah,
they'll see it so much more directly, and it's going to accelerate things massively. It's going to make arguing for idealism easier in general. It's going to subvert the intuition that at a much deeper level that was behind the material intuition. The out there intuition is what's being subverted at that time, rather than the material intuition.
Oh yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to discuss about idealism, or is that pretty much it for now? Johanan?
I think that's about it.
For now, okay.
And Eric is not there, so
we already went over the survey. So, but yeah, that survey was retarded, ridiculous. I mean, they were obviously being biased. So we already know that. So we don't need to go over it again. So, all right, thanks you guys for watching. I'm gonna end the broadcast now. Talk to you guys later.